Okay, hello everyone. Thank you guys for joining us today, Saturday, 10 a.m., August, summertime, quarantine summer, virtual. So we're really appreciating that this screen you guys are sitting in front of is just going to be fun and interactive one right now. We had a long way by coming here and sticking up with this City New Short Film Contest. So we really thank all our jury team for putting their support, and also sponsors and donors for still providing their financial input during the economy is going through another struggle with COVID. So yeah, I think we can just start with giving a short background about what City UNU community, and then we'll have a real fun popcorn style of introduction for planning team and jury team, and then we'll be asking our participants and submission owners to say a couple of sentences before starting our discussions. We share the first graphic we created. Okay, so the City News started as an idea of having a platform which would be inclusive and welcoming for everyone, no matter gender, race, religion, place of birth, age, just human, and the way its interaction and identity puts a story together. We wanted to create a platform where everybody would share their interactions and their coming, their stories, without feeling any pressure, and within the theme of just sharing and inspiring others. The contest theme is focusing on this majority, and we don't have any necessity and limitations other than asking for how did you interact with your cities and how you have become the most current version of you through those interactions. So basically, we're asking our submission participants to share their growth story and becoming through whatever platform they prefer or choose. While getting this dream into an actual thing after the virtual phase, we were actually making a great team out of it. And I just want to, before moving with that, thank the sponsors. As you guys may not know too, we are a group of architecture students in IIT, and also we have a member which will introduce himself during the planning team pop-up from also Chicago. So we had the huge support of our college and our college support fields in the industry. Pruitt and Sexton Architects are providing our first place, and Ernest Lynch, another adjunct professor in IIT College of Architecture, they're providing our second place, and our college is supporting our third place, and also honorable mentions, which are also surprised, and you guys will be notified after the contest and the results. How do we put this contest together? With the help of brilliant people, which is our planning team. I'm not gonna talk more. I'm just the person who came up with this crazy idea and asked these people to help your girl out. And I'm Neshe, I'm from Turkey. And I'm just popcorning Sena right now to share her input.
Okay, hello everyone, I'm Sena. My first name is Husna, but you can call me Sena because I like it better. So I'm one of the team members who created this city and you. And I remember the first day Nishe came up to me and told me this idea, and I love it. And we just tried to bring it to life, and right now it's becoming. So we are really excited about this, and we are so happy that you guys contributed at this, all of the juries and the participants. I am a third year architecture student at IIT, like the most of the team members except Rafi. He's special. And I'm so excited for this. I can't wait to see your videos and your opinions. All right, I'm gonna popcorn Rafi, the special one.
Hello, everyone. As Sana said, I'm special, I guess. I am a former architecture major. I changed majors, but I'll be attending architecture grad school. I'm currently a student finishing up my last year at UIC. It's nice to meet you guys. Let's see, I'll popcorn Alyssa.
Hi, I'm Alyssa. I'm from Brazil. I was one of the last ones to join the planning team. I joined when they had the idea ready and they were going to film the trailer, and they told me all about it. And they're like, "Do you want to join?" Yes, I do. I thought it was a great idea, and I'm really excited to see all the videos and what we made for this. I also study architecture and popcorn drama.
Hi, I'm Damla, and I'm also from Turkey. I'm also going to be a third year this semester in architecture. I think I joined the planning team maybe mid-semester or like towards the beginning of the semester. But I'm so excited how big this competition got and how great submissions we have and juries and donors. So I'm really excited for today. And I will popcorn Michael.
All right, hello, I am Michael. I am also going to be a third-year architecture student this year, and I'm from the western suburbs of Chicago. Like everyone has said, I'm super excited to be here and excited for the community that we're even going to continue to build once the competition has finished up. So stay tuned for that too.
Okay, this is the exact energy we actually need. Also, thank you for this cool graphic. Michael did this planning team graphic too, so we want to just give that credits right here. Let's continue with our jury team. Okay, just a little announcement before we start popcorning. Maria will not be able to join us till 1 p.m. because she is currently working in a different time zone and she had an urgency about work. A site visit, architecture always continues, but we appreciate that she will still be meeting with her responsibilities and she'll be providing her feedback and everything about the contests and submissions. So it will all be fluent in that.
Hi, everybody. My name is Brianna Clearly. I am a filmmaker, primarily a director, screenwriter. I'm also in my final year of grad school at DePaul University for an MFA in directing. And yeah, I'm currently doing a self-imposed film challenge where I release one short film a month for the entire year. And I'm also working on a couple of features to be produced and created next year, 2021. So that's me. And I am going to popcorn over to my good sis, Bridget. Yeah.
Hey everybody, I'm Bridget. I am a film producer, originally from PG County, Maryland. I live in Chicago, in LA. I just finished wrapped my first feature last September. We shot it on location in New Mexico. And now I do a lot of like music videos. I work freelance for a company called Teenager. It's a production house in LA. And I do some freelance commercial stuff in Chicago. And I came from like the doc world. I did a great fellowship at Cartenquin, which is the best. And that's really about it. So I'm going to popcorn to Andrew.
Awesome. Thanks, Bridget. Hi, my name is Andrew Jang. Some of you might have heard of me, know me from classes and all. I am a recent graduate from IIT's Bachelor of Architecture. I have a minor in urban studies and a specialization in history and theory. I'm actually going to be continuing my studies at IIT this coming fall as a grad student for my MS in Arch, so that would be exciting. You'll be seeing more of me there. I'm currently working at Dirk Dennison Architects. I'm the student director for AI Chicago, and I also work with Maria as a designer at Studio Ecphysis. So I'll popcorn over to Jonathan Miller.
Okay, hi. Jonathan Miller. I'm a studio associate professor at the College of Architecture. I've been teaching film studies and media production classes to architecture students for a long time. And I've also been involved with the planning of the City NU event in the background for pretty much since its inception. And I just want to commend the team for its perseverance. And I'm also very excited that it's finally happening, and look forward to further iterations of the contest, so that I hope that this is really just the commencement of what will become a tradition and a really great event for the city and for filmmakers and architects.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for all of you for putting all this effort. It was a really up and down kind of process, and all of the jury members provided their full support since the beginning. Especially thank you, Professor Miller, for helping us put together even like the rubric and stuff. So we just want to continue with people who actually make this stuff happen, because how would we have a short film contest without having short films, right? And we want to just give you guys a couple of like minutes to introduce yourselves.
Hi, hello, good morning, everyone. So my name is Chintan, and I am a master's in architecture student at IIT. So that's the introduction. And so I submitted a film called Everyday City, which is I'm being an architect student. I'm always interested in exploring the city by cutting a transect, and I did this a lot back in my own country, and I wanted to do, as soon as I arrived in Chicago, I wanted to do this. So hence the video is there. And other films, one I liked about was Giovanna's films, where she was showing a city back in Brazil. And I liked the way how she curated the film and had like these small things to explain how her life in that city was. So yeah.
Hello, everybody. I'm Miles Emmons. As will be my 5th year at IIT, getting my Bachelor's of Architecture. I have a BA from Oberlin Conservatory for music composition and music technology. And I have, there's so many favorite films, but I'll pick an animated film that I saw recently that I really love, which is the Disney Pixar movie Onward. I feel like it really doesn't, they don't leave a stitch on the floor, and it's just everything is set up and paid off really beautifully. It's a tearjerker and kind of a really personally relevant movie for myself and the way my experiences with my own family. So that's something I saw recently.
All right, I'm Moed Ali. I'm also a 3rd year, and I'm just here to watch some of the films. I've seen the work that the team has done, and I've seen some of the submissions already through Instagram, and just want to see the rest. So yeah.
Hi guys, I'm Myra. I'm a 3rd year, and same as Moed, I'm here to see some good videos. I'm excited.
I'm Natalie. I am gonna start my 4th year in the architecture program. What else? I actually don't really have any experience with film, but when I found out about this contest, I was like really excited to just explore my creative interests and kind of branch off from what I'm used to. So I'm glad that this was still able to happen, even given all the craziness that's been going on. And in terms of film, well, from the submissions, I saw all of the submissions and I really like them. I think one of my favorites is probably the Paris memoir. I just really like the energy that came from that film. It was very interesting. It was something that I enjoyed seeing the entire time. And I guess in terms of movies that I would recommend other people to watch, it's a very emotional movie, but I like films that make me feel something, whether it's maybe sad or happy, or make me want to laugh. It's this movie called Miracle in Cell Number 7. It's on Netflix, so it is very sad, I will say. So if you're ready to cry and you have tissues on hand, then I recommend watching that. Yeah, thank you.
I feel like I would definitely I have it ready here. I'm an emotional person too. Thank you for the recommendation.
Hello, my name is Jingyu, and I just graduated this May, and I'm actually currently outside of the U.S. But I think it's a really good chance, and I feel really grateful to inviting us in this community and the events. So actually, I submitted to the entry as a rendezvous, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I actually enjoyed a lot of other participants' movies. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Slowly, we're gonna say welcome back everyone from the break. Hopefully you guys are comfortable. If you guys grab your coffee or snack or whatever, because we have some film discussions to make.
If you weren't awake yet, this submission should have woken you up. The soundtrack alone started my heart pumping. And so I think that there's, as you said, a tremendous energy and exuberance and visually compelling work here that I feel like I should have watched it maybe 2 or 3 times, and it's only 30 seconds long, so that I would have a little bit, better grasp of what it's doing, because it's doing a lot of stuff. That might be something that we can discuss. But I just want to say that its energy is hard to duck. It comes right at you.
The overall kind of film it was almost like seeing the city through like this almost like drugged or like psychedelic state, which was quite interesting and highlights these different aspects of the city, primarily of transportation infrastructure, which then leads me to think about, all this transportation infrastructure as roads, as like stop signs, or even a train system are these kind of static objects in which like dynamic us human beings or cars interact with them. And it somehow kind of highlights, that it was kind of highlighted for me to see all these like still shots of like buildings, but then like people are moving through it. It was almost like ants crawling through. It was interesting.
Wow, that was an emotional one.
Okay, so hi everybody. I think that this concept was very solid, and it also felt like a complete story to me. What I think would have made more sense is because I think we all have an understanding, like a lot of times we don't feel good, but we put up a mask to make us feel good. So I think that had the filmmaker done masks that mimic how we actually perform outside, I think that could have made more sense. And just going along with the theme, I would have liked to see this person travel outside of this indoor space more, to give more of that performative feel. Because when you're by yourself, I think you can kind of lie to yourself, but again, a lot of the masks were sad, and I think that that's usually what we try to hide because we equate that with vulnerability and weakness. I think that it could have been just a little bit tighter, but I do appreciate the arc of the character and finally unmasking. And I do think that there were some cool editing and storytelling elements in it. So yeah, that's what I think. And I love a black and white film.
They pass through the doors and we don't see how the camera and anyone who's capturing those shots, the continuity of scenes and the overlay of music, how that delirium stage ends and then the music hops in. from different tunes, and that delirious city noise still comes in and hops back from the moment and the interaction of the character within the places. I don't know, it's just it's a quality way of putting things together. I was there and I felt how the person, the character interacted with that delirious city and also the fairy tale as the way it's written.
Yeah, I thought that this film actually did a really good job. I've been kind of making notes on sound and music and video and how it all kind of comes together, but they did a really good job at building a crescendo towards the end that, you know, kind of in reference to the other film where I was like, the music was too on the music was saying, be sad, when the performance should just make us sad or feel away. This, the music, the soft piano, and then it kind of crescendoed and it, you know, he's running and then it escalated to, it all came together, you know, the visual and the music, what they were working together, and that was really nice. There were some jump zooms and some transition little issues and some focus issues, mainly when with like it seemed like he was in that hallway for like days because of it felt like a time lapse, like it was, you know, when you do like the transition to the transition and you're in the same place, our minds just think, oh, he must have been there for days, which was kind of funny for me at least. But I actually also thought that one thing that could have changed this film, and I mean, it's really good. It's a nice like story arc here. One thing that could have like really just done it for me is like kill all the dialogue. There should be no talking at all. That would have been such a like we can cut the dialogue in the beginning when he's like, "Hello, this is." We can cut that. Hey, just make it a silent film because the music really does take centerfold, and he's such a interesting human. The actor has a really interesting face. It looks good on film. But yeah, I loved hearing the different sounds as he was walking down the hallway. I thought that that also spoke to kind of like the sounds of the city indoors. I mean, it's smart. There's a lot of interesting camera movements from different angles, which maybe you don't need as much. It's such a simple film anyways. I felt like the camera was kind of low and it's like, why do we need a low angle? Then it was like kind of right here. Like, why do we need this? But I did feel like it spoke to the movement. You know, if you're trying to just communicate that there's a lot of movement and the city is like very fast paced. But with him, I thought this film was simple, nice, you know, funny to me. I really like this one.
We have the submission owner here. I don't know if you wanted to start talking about it or just first hear.
First of all, I want to say that thank you for all of you watching my movie. It's really grateful for me. And I want to say that I'm Brazilian, so I'm apologizing for my bad English. I'm like 6 months without saying any words, so I'm like, oh, I'm nervous. I was talking with Alicia. And I want to explain that this movie that I record, it was about something that I was feeling in that moment, and it's more for me than for the public. It's like my feelings and what about I'm feeling when I'm here in my city, what I'm thinking about and my dreams, my life story, and it's something that I made for me. And I want to say that I record just with my phone and with my friend Marcos. He was the character, and that's it. I can answer some questions. I don't know if you have some.
That was all with your phone?
Yeah, my smartphone,
That's
iPhone 7.
incredible.
What city are you in?
Excuse me?
What city are you in?
I'm Blumenau, Santa Catarina, Brazil.
Amazing. Well, I
Did
want
you
to
edit on
commend.
your phone? Did you edit on your phone too?
No, I had it in my notebook
In
in
your what?
Premiere.
Oh, in Premiere.
Yeah.
Very nice. I didn't know it was shot on your iPhone. That's what's up. That looks really good for your iPhone.
Thank you. Yeah, I just say this in the end of the movie because if you say before that, it's like people say, "Oh, so it's not good." So you need to say after the movie.
Okay. I mean, I can kind of just jump into some of the notes that I wrote. I well, I'm so happy that you could clear up some things for me. It seems like your film is like very sentimental. Like this is something that like you said, that you were going through it. This is like emotional. Um, there's a little twitch effect that you use that's often used in horror films, and it gave it. It's a little scary. It's a little scary. I think if you remove that, we can. I don't even think you need all those effects. I think it would be really cool if you did a single shot. If you just did a single shot, one setup with your iPhone, I guess, and like even if you were, I don't know how you feel about being on camera, but even if it was like things, maybe there was no actors and just like things that remind you of home, that we see these, we just like go through a home when you're like an old home, your previous home, and we just like see these places where you used to, and maybe just like an audio voiceover, like conversations you have with your friends, your people that you were raised with, they're around, we hear them speaking, and we hear something going on. I think I was just sorry, it's a siren. um but I really, one of the things that I thought was cool was the collection of videos. It's almost like a video diary in a sense. Um, and there's also a part where he's like laying down playing like a ukulele or something, like a very small guitar. And there's like a
Ukulele.
pedal. I thought that was really beautiful. Just like one petal kind of falls. Um, but yeah, I think because there's an emergency going on. I'm so sorry. But I think if you because it's so short and they're kind of quick, I get the feeling of like an urgency, or maybe that something is about to happen that's maybe kind of scary. What do we are, what we dream? What does that mean to you?
For me, like the movie, it's about three parts. So what we are is he remember who he is actually, and what we dream is about his feelings. Like he was dreaming about playing ukulele, and he was dreaming about his friends and his childhood. So it's like that, and the end of that, he's remember about all of this, and he's like, I can't support this anymore. I don't know if I want to live this. So it's kind of end of that.
Last thing I'll say, I want to commend you for the video production quality. The blend between the soundtrack and the effects was crispy, and really appreciated all of that. And just to reinforce what my fellow jurors said, I think the effects was super well done. And personally, for myself, I had a reading. I mean, similar to like this kind of horror genre kind of reading, the flicks and all. And it made me think, there's like an uneasiness with what happened in the past, and it made me think maybe there was something like almost traumatic that might have happened, because the narrative says, forgetting about the city that he used to live in the childhood, like I'd be curious then, is like, what is it? I know you said this is a very personal film for yourself, so of course you don't have to elaborate, but I can see this was almost like a trailer for like a larger horror film, like something traumatizing happened to this person at one point in the urban fabric, and he doesn't want to go back, maybe something along those lines. And I thought it's very fertile for further development.
Yeah, like you said, it's hard for me to explain because it's something about myself that I was feeling in that moment. But when you said about the music and the soundtrack, I'm really grateful because I love it actually. when the door is open and the feet is like touching the ground. I can feel that, when I'm seeing this, I can feel the texture about the floor, and I can feel the door opening. It's like I like it.
Yeah, that opening door like hit me hard. I was like, oh, like, it was very well done and it blended very nicely. So we really appreciate.
Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank you so much for joining.
Gonna say that kind of puts it into context, because I was like, man, this would be the juxtaposition of something animation, which and a lot of times is registered as for children, with the context. I think had it been all animation, which of course we know how time consuming and laborious that is, but I think that had it all been animation, that would have hit like super hard because of like the color palette used, and just the assumption that animation is for children. And with the context of the film, maybe having something like this in animation to be able to show to children, like, which also kind of goes to having it wrapped up, like, what do you do in a situation like this? But I think that this could be like a powerful educational tool for children, because it is animated, because the subject matter is complex, but it's like, let's talk about this with children. But I'm actually really impressed that this was done for a class. And I agree with Bridget. I don't think that we needed to see her. I think it almost makes it less relatable to see her face. And I think had we not seen her face, we would be like, man, this honestly could be anybody, because it is so many women, it's so many children. And yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about it. Moving right along.
I kind of had the reading between the animation versus a live action as, I mean, looking at the description, she writes that it's a short that kind of materializes a feeling of fear to tell a story through time. So the animation to me looked like, I mean, of course, as Bridget had mentioned, it had like a childhood kind of fun palette to it, like the color scheme. So then how I read it was that the animation told the story of her experiences of fear, of trauma, of abuse during her childhood, and then live action is like kind of the present, and then the incorporation of the water of the bathtub and her submersing herself was kind of like a narrative of wanting to escape. I mean, that's something like that. You can't just forget about that. But I do agree that there should be some sort of like a conclusive portion to it, because it kind of leaves you hanging and it makes you question, is like what you had said earlier, is like, oh, is she okay? What's the next step?
Right.
But it seems like now, the telling of the story is kind of through time, that there's one portion was the experience, and now is like the trauma of having to live with the fact that it happened. But I mean, the blend, the juxtaposition, as Brianna said, was beautifully done, and I definitely commend that effort.
I'm going to reinforce what Brianna was saying, that this is more of a classic city symphony film, but instead of finding the rhythm in the city and in the objects depicted, it's finding the rhythm in the music, and then sort of pasting in topics to give us the sense of the rhythm of the city. But the rhythm of the city, and in the classic city symphony, could be performed in many different ways, particularly through montage instead of through accelerated motion. And so I think that the idea is there, but the realization is not, that it's not actually formally taking place. And the topics in a city are already rhythmic, in the sense that the city's form is rhythmic, and our activities in it, as Andrew has just pointed out, are rhythmic at a very high pace, and the rhythms of the city are multiple and complex and overlaid. So I think that this is more of a notion that the city has rhythm than an illustration of it, or even a depiction of it. So that's why I find it a bit problematic. Again, this is a film that I've seen because it was made in the classroom, so I won't be scoring it. I just wanted to make those few comments.
I actually really like the editing, the transitioning in the very beginning, and it was like it was kind of like going up, then down. It was, and all of the rhythm in each frame almost, complemented each other. It was all kind of in sync. It was like pigeons, like, whatever they do. And the smoke was coming out at a kind of the same rate. Everything was all very, just like very pleasing, like aesthetically. Everything felt kind of rhythmic, and then you get into the chaos, kind of what Andrew was saying earlier. Um, yeah, it's the sound. I mean, I think the music kind of takes us out of that rhythm, which maybe that was a part of the concept. Maybe he was like, I'm gonna put on some really jarring rock music to show the parallels between the ways humans, have ruined the earth. We have ruined the earth. So maybe there was actually, maybe this might be the deepest film, I don't know. I haven't seen all of them, but I can kind of see like a little symbolism going on in there. So this is a little genius.
Well, we have the creator here. That is a fast life. You're living in high energy. Would you like to share some of your thoughts, like this energy behind this video?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thank you everyone for watching this film. What I want to do is, through this video, I wanted to explore how the city fabric changes from the downtown as we like move outside that area. For me, moving into a new city, or for maybe everyone, I was thinking that transport and urban fabric becomes one of the major, what do you call, a feature in how you see the city in. And there is a specific route of movement that millions of people travel from one place to another. And then it's so this was my everyday transit of the city, and there will be everyday city transits for millions of people who are out there, and they see through the city while sitting in that transport, maybe bus or train or anything, and exploring the city passerby. So there are a lot of these observations here and there. What I felt interesting about doing this time lapses, that when there are these pause moments where bus used to stop at the signals, those moments you are like, you easily capture it, and you remember those areas or the restaurants or those people around. Well, and the other way around, when the bus is moving fast, you just have a quick glimpse through. So yeah, and that's it.
I can say that I really admire this film because it understands the relationship between the system of urban infrastructure, transportation, and the camera as a sectioning device. And so taking a section through the city is a very powerful thing that the camera can do when it's mobilized. And by mobilizing it across the wide distance that you've done, then you can produce, let's say, a very informative view of the city. And I think you're getting there with this idea. And so your distinction between the pauses and the intervening moments of the ride is very instructive too. So we do tend to ignore that environment. It evanesces or disappears for us as it moves past us at speed. And then because when we stop, we notice things. I somehow wish that somehow there were more, something more revealed in those moments of exposition when we pause. And frankly, taking the bus down State Street going south, as you are in this ride, could be extremely instructive about the nature of our city. Its high degree of segregation and the differentiation in neighborhoods. You didn't go far enough south. In other words, you have to keep riding this bus for a long, long time for us to be able to see exactly the differences between downtown and the south side.
Yeah.
And maybe you need to start further north so that we see the big scope of this transect, which is not just a physical transect, it's a sociological, socioeconomic, political transect. And then your tool is extremely powerful, and it's the same tool, which is the bus, the camera, or the camera in motion and in a sectional view. The camera's always sectioning. That's another story. But so I commend you in your sketch for a really brilliant film.
Sure, thank you.
Oh my God, I almost cursed because you said exactly what I was gonna say. Like, this was a perfect opportunity to actually really show the scope of the city in a way a lot of people don't understand Chicago. And that was the first thing I was like, you should have went way further south. I think also I would have gotten rid of the music and I would have used the sounds on the bus, because that also is informative, right? Like, who's riding the bus at what points? Hearing the ding and the State Street and whatever. Like, I think these things could have added so much texture to this film. So even if you kind of don't know like what you're looking at for somebody who's not in Chicago, we immediately know you're on a bus, from being able to hear the things that are going on. Because some of the pauses, I was like, there's nothing really going on when it stops, and we don't know why, because I'm like, is he driving? Now, because you explained it to me, I know you're on a bus. But what have filled those kind of dead spots of us looking at, for instance, Walgreens, is what people are saying, right? And like what people are doing. You know, sometimes I'm sure if you're on the bus, there are some people who play music, there are babies crying, there are all these things. So when we're not looking at anything, our senses are still being fulfilled by sounds. And I think a lot of people, when we think about film, we don't think about how important sound is. But like, for everybody that's here, visuals, like a crappy visual will not make somebody leave, but crappy sound or just dead sound will make somebody not watch your film. So just think about that, and think about how you can add texture to your visual through sound. And I think having that sound of the bus would have been like so phenomenal. And it's something that you still can do. You still can recreate this and see how you like the texture of the sounds on the bus when you're riding it. So that's it.
It's definitely a different approach to the city. What we've seen so far is always chaos, fast-paced movements, but this definitely, yeah, I agree, it takes that reverse approach of city as a serene and still kind of set of objects. The emphasis at the beginning of all these different architectures almost seem like, not almost, they are monumental in its depiction. And the city kind of is then depicted as a series of composed of moments, whether they're still or dynamic, or even still objects made to look dynamic, like the walking legs in Grant Park. I have to commend the camera work, the beautiful angles in the camera work. I mean, to see a black and white film shot in this capacity, and the elegant kind of soundtrack that complements it, I think it's a very well produced product. And I also appreciate like the cuts with the music. It's one of those really subtle things that once done right, it really like brings out the whole film sings because of if it cuts correctly, I think. And the kind of question posed at the end, tomorrow, what is tomorrow? Kind of made me think about that line that Bo Burnham said, tomorrow is a relative term, it will never come, tomorrow comes and it's still today. So it's a little interesting thing to think about.
I like this one. This might be my favorite one so far because of all the juxtaposition. Like, what I got from the music is, you know, if you're not from a place like Brazil or Rio, there is a perception, and the perception is like there's dancing all the time. Like the music is samba, which is native to that place, and it's upbeat, it's high energy. But the reality of what's going on is that there are so many people there that are disenfranchised. So I just think it was just like layers and layers and layers of juxtaposition, which I really, really enjoyed. And to your point, it is a found footage film, which I love when people do found footage films. So there's so many things about it that I like because there's so much juxtaposition, there's so much texture. I loved hearing the voices at the very beginning. And I love the way that they use the music to almost trick you, right? Like it disarms you in a way that it's just like, oh, this is fun. I found myself dancing. I was like, yes, come on, I'm shimmying. And then, you know, you're seeing all of these horrific images that a lot of us are familiar with. We're familiar with that here in Chicago. So I think it does a really good job of disarming you, tricking you, making you feel comfortable, and then like hammering away this message in a way that's palatable for us, but still keeps you engaged. So I think that this one is very, very, very impressive.
I'd like to make a comment too about the music. Like, despite it being samba and having a really happy beat, like what it's saying in that samba, it's saying "Rio pra não chorar," which means like Rio, besides being just a river, it also means laugh. So it's saying I'm laughing not to cry. So it really does make sense in that.
Oh, I love that.
That music.
This, wow, hold on. I really, I mean, I'm with B. This is by far my favorite. I found footage, mixed media, all of that. I think that it is very contemporary art. I could see this literally showing at the MCA. I could see this. This is very like author Jaffa kind of putting together all of this footage that, if you look at it these single pieces of videos and things, they don't seem to go together, but it's woven in a way. I talked about pacing with the last video. The pacing here, the rhythm, it's perfect. I mean, the rhythm is very intentional. You could see that there was a video where there's boys like dancing and they literally move their leg to the beat. These are the little tiny details that make this like a standout piece. It makes it very intentional. I see the message. I understand the director. I feel like I know more about Rio. It's like the film was literally, I mean, the title's a little on the nose, but that's fine. It is literally the embodiment of beauty and chaos, which, I mean, essentially it's just reflective of our human experience. I mean, I love that it's rooted in Rio, but I think that you don't even have to be from Rio to understand or feel this reflection of, the beauty and chaos that's on 47th Street. I mean, that is, that's life. So for me, this was beautiful. I think production wise, there were definitely like some changes in terms of the type of found footage. I don't mind it being like low def, like VHS recorder found footage. I actually sometimes think it adds a little bit of texture and realness to films like this.
Can I just interject briefly to say that since I know this film because it was made in my classroom and I know Giovanna, some of that footage is of her as a child. So that's a historical relationship. She's actually presenting her home videos. That's her as a child in some of the shots. Just a note.
I love that. I mean, that's even better. That just made it from a 10 to a 20. Adding yourself as a part of the work. I mean, filmmaking in general is already, there's a lot of vulnerability, and you put yourself in a film. You put your thoughts, everything into a film. To put also, get in front of the camera also shows a vulnerability that just, draws me to this even more. Thank you for that.
Well, a film by Natalie Perez, and I think you're with us here, Natalie.
All right. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm glad you said that. So I had a lot of fun filming this, just creating this in general. As I mentioned earlier, before I showed my face, this was like a very learning experience for me. It was fun to just experiment Chicago's beauty, and even parts of it that some people don't see, like murals, just the people in general. So I wanted to emphasize a lot of that and the architecture as well, something I'm very fond of. And yeah, I just hope that it's something that inspires people when they watch it.
I point out to my class that there are fundamentally two ways that you're going to end up depicting the city. One of them is morphologically, the form of it, its physical aspects. The other is sociological, the people. And so your film is kind of a mix of these two approaches. We're hearing people, and so this has been discussed, and I agree with the comments previously made. And we're very interested in people's responses and the reality. The city is people. It's a society. It's us. But it's also where we are. It's a physical location. It has physical realities. And while you're showing us the people, well, we're hearing the people, you're showing us the city. So you're merging these two approaches in a way which I think, as has been said, could have been balanced in different ways. That's a choice. We're very interested in people. You start someone talking, we're going to look at them, we want to hear what they say, we want to know their opinions. But it is one way that you can make a portrait of the city by showing us who's there and what they had to say. And there's many historical examples of this. And Chicago is a city of neighborhoods, and so you could go into the neighborhoods and you could give us a portrait of the city as a very comprehensive place because of different ethnicities and socioeconomic realities and so forth. So in that regard, your film is totally doing the right thing, but it's doing it in a very sort of narrow channel. That's all. It's a really great beginning for this approach, but it maybe could have been richer.
Start the discussion with a few back hints about how you created this.
Yeah, so basically just trying to translate how I see Chicago and vaguely like city in general, trying to capture like the disorienting feeling and the like culture of being overstimulated nowadays, which is really predominant in cities, I feel like. Yeah, I'm just trying to, I guess, make the viewer feel overwhelmed and create these moving, I guess, fields and abstract collages to confuse and disorient the viewer.
I thought that this was really interesting as like a morphological approach to the city that quite literally morphs the city. I thought it was an interesting contrast to that first film that we saw, the Let's Go for a Ride, which it was kind of like this, like a psychedelic experience of the urban condition. But like as kind of what Brianna pointed out, like the juxtaposition of all these different urban field conditions almost like makes everything look the same, right? So it kind of presents this total realization of like this reality that the urban field is, we live in a bunch of Excel sheets. Quite literally the same cell kind of repeated over and over onwards forever. But kind of, I mean, and that taken in some perspectives could be kind of like almost like a nihilist approach to the city. But I mean, I was thinking in this, what you're presenting here, Trevor, is almost like a Camus approach, the against nihilism, that although we do live in Excel sheets, there's uniqueness and interesting kind of joy through that. And especially that kind of, I especially found out at the end when you began to pixelize everything. That pixelization forms a color palette of the city that it's kind of like abstracting this overstimulation that we get from all of these different material palettes. I mean, even in my background, there's like 20 different materials right there, like stuff like that. To pixelize it really then kind of hone it, not only abstracts, but also like gets into the specifics of how to interpret a city. So I thought that was quite interesting.
This one was incredible. I don't know what else to say because I'm thinking everything at once, but I want to hear your thoughts and I want to hear everyone's thoughts on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
I agree with you. I love the deep complexion of the protagonist, and I felt like the floating backpacks. I just assumed that those were all white students because every time I saw a police officer in my school, I'm like terrified, right? It never felt, I love you brought up the question of who's being protected. And yeah, and you know, obviously race is at play here. One thing that I'm interested though is I think that the animation takes, I mean, front stage. It's beautiful. Also, I don't know if you do this freelance because I have some projects for you, honestly.
Yes.
I need a good animator. I know it's so time consuming, but yeah, we'll talk after this, I guess.
Amazing.
Yeah, for sure. But it's also there's an opportunity with the audio, with the music though. I think we could it was just like you probably just like laid a track underneath. It was like one kind of single music throughout the entire one track throughout the entire short. And I think we could have created some emotional arcs with the sound, with the audio. um, Brianna is really into sound design, so am I. Most people are, but I am too. I'm a stickler for it, and I think that there's definitely opportunity to have the audio and the visual come together and support one another. And I don't feel like they quite supported each other, even though the track is nice and it sounds good and I would play it in my crib. I'm not, it didn't necessarily do much for me in this particular short, but it's absolutely beautiful. You're extremely talented. I really like it was very Kanye West 2004 Murakami, you know what I mean? Like the very like you know, I kind of saw inside his head, and it was like all these like, you know, it kind of looked like a virus, but I'm assuming that was just like him like shooting off, like, you know, freaking out or something like that. But yeah, I loved that the officer had no face. Incredible. Yeah, they were like really small details that I really enjoyed. Thank you.
Thank you.
I really like this too. I didn't have a problem with the music. I think that what you needed was just more sound. Like when I heard the bell, I was like, okay, all right, Miles, come on with the bell ring. So I think that if we would have heard more sounds to accompany the music, like if we would have heard the school bus like going, if we would have heard like maybe a broken down police siren at the beginning. I think if you would have, and that's the other thing, and these are little things, but they make a big difference. I think that you want to give yourself some time at the beginning and the end, as opposed to kind of stuff feeling like it's just cutting off. But I think if we would have heard like the police siren before we saw any animation, and then we hear the breakdown of that police siren because the cars turned over, like that would have been such a strong way to start. So I think just incorporating more sounds. Again, I really like the music. I think that there's a little bit of a juxtaposition there because it does feel kind of like upbeat and positive and fun, but we see this, we see our protagonist kind of like, what's gonna be the mess today? Like, am I gonna live through the day? Am I gonna be okay throughout the day? And I do think that it also kind of goes with the end, which is slightly unclear, but it feels like, okay, I survived another day. I'm good. I'm gonna go home, eat whatever I eat, and like it was a good day because I got through it. So I think that the music goes along with that, but I would like to see more sounds. That's part of what makes animation, especially animation with the lack of dialogue, so powerful, is when we hear the sounds and we hear these things going on. If we were to hear these invisible kids kind of rumbling and walking through. I mean, high school has so much sound. It's like a cacophony of sounds. So I think incorporating that, yes, girl, that's an SAT word. I think hearing that would just add so much more to this piece. But like what you have begun with is really, really phenomenal. And congratulations to you.
Thank you. Yes.
I would agree that in some ways this is a touristical perspective. It's pretty hard to get into a city like New York or Paris or anywhere really if you're just visiting. You're going to get the external views and you're going to go to the iconic locations and you're going to observe a few things which might strike you as odd. The fact that in the Tuileries chairs are just out. That would never happen in Chicago. Those would quickly be stolen, probably. I don't know. But so you assemble a certain number of observations, and the other thing that's also kind of monumental and iconic is to use Edith Piaf on the soundtrack, so that she's as much a monument of Paris or icon of Paris as the Eiffel Tower. And so, in a sense, we have this collection of recognizable landmarks, including the audio track. And there is a question of how to organize all that into a meaningful statement. There are glimmers, as you've just said, Bridget, I think, where observations are assembled in certain ways to start to show patterns. And I think that that has a great deal of promise. And there's also a hint of a possible existential film. These images of empty chairs and pigeons and whatnot could speak about loneliness or existence or something, but I'm not sure that that's necessarily coming across. I just think that there's a sketch for a film about that, where by showing objects in a certain way, you begin to start to make a statement about a scale of experience and observation in the city where either you're alone or you're lonely or you're bereft or something's going on. But in the end, by showing us these recognizable locations, all of which are fairly identifiable, we see a travelogue, and a travelogue of a place that doesn't necessarily give us any new insight that is anything other than a sort of textural one. And the texture, as you say, is an overlay. And the texture that's an overlay is an easy thing to do, but it's harder to make your own texture. And how you do that is an artistic challenge. And because of the tools that we use nowadays, it's an even greater challenge to do, because the tools make everything so easy that you'd have to think long and hard about how to make something seem not just authentic, but to be authentic.
Well, looks like we're gonna make the closing in a high energy level. Who wants to start?
Be really quick about this. I love the stop motion kind of aesthetic to it. This is, holy cow. I was not expecting that, but there's something so interesting and playful with it that I thought really, I mean, Neshes, you're right. Like, it ends this on a very positive note. But I think what drew me the most to this is that middle portion of there where they're of the film where they're drawing the city from memory. It's like everyone has their own depiction of the city. It's kind of like how they say we all see different shades of color. Like the green that I see will be a different shade of green that any one of you might see, and that's the same that perspective goes for the urban condition. And it's a very kind of like Kevin Lynch, urbanist kind of approach, having people interviewing residents of a city and asking them like, what are the iconic pieces of the city that you remember? So then that already tells from a sociological perspective what means what is significant to the residents, and to see that also then being drawn freehand in a sketchbook shows what are the, I guess, priorities or the interests of the filmmaker, what they understand the city as. So I thought that was very well done.
I think all of these comments so far we shared on the submission would really start picking up as giving further feedback, because this is a pretty short time to showcase all 14 of the movies and have discussions where everyone can participate without any time constraints. So we would like to move further with the closing remarks. So if he wants to remind all of you one short thing before I tell how the contest will be announced as the results part.
I think everyone got a lot of really nice feedback during this discussion, and I just want to remind everyone that City and You is a community-based and about improving and showcasing your works. We want to recognize everyone who submitted, and we also want to encourage anyone who wants to make any edits or revisions to submit those as well. We'll share them on all of our social media platforms This is like your platform to showcase your work. So anything, if you have new projects that you're working on, it doesn't just have to be a short film contest that we put on for you guys to be creative and, you know, start creating. So we want you guys to feel free to continue creating, and we would always love to share that with the community.
Thank you for that reminder. For the other submission contests that you guys can share, please check out these links and accounts that we mentioned here right now. The results will be announced by 21st of August because we want to give some time for our jury to put together their final thoughts, maybe rewatch some of the submissions they wanted to, and then provide their private feedback to each of the submission owner along with the public comments. And you guys are always welcome to provide your additional comments which you did not have time to share right now, unfortunately, through our archive section, which will also be releasing these submissions as the first archive material. And yeah, follow up with us for the last announcements and closing remarks and the future, further details about how the submission owners will receive their prizes. I think the meeting will get like closed in a minute, so if anyone wants to share like final insights or anything before we say goodbye, I would really like to.
I want to thank my fellow jurors from whom I learned quite a lot today about filmmaking, and it's always really a pleasure to have a conversation with so many astute, observant, and talented people. Thank you.
Likewise, likewise. This
Same.
is
Thank you
such
all.
an experience. Go ahead, Bridget.
It was fun. Y'all can look up my films on BriannaClearly.com if you want to critique my stuff too, and give me feedback. The gag, they're already done and I'm not doing anything to them, but you know, if you kind of want to see what I did and what I do, BriannaClearly.com. And thank y'all.
A great job to the planning team here. I know it was the brainchild from a couple months ago, and you know, pulling through to even with COVID and just kind of getting this off the ground is very impressive. Everyone, well done.
I also thank you guys, the juries, the donors, the sponsors, and the submissions. This was our first step on taking our dream into life, and we're gonna continue creating and growing up this community. So keep an eye on that. So we're gonna have very nice stuff, content in the future.
Very exciting.
Well, okay, thank you all for that like motivational thanks. We really tried, and it is happening because of the input that you all provide. So we're really thankful for that. You guys are the ones who are making this educational and inclusive in terms of anything. So we really want to promote that as much as possible. Share it with your friends inside, outside IIT, inside, outside Chicago, or even United States. And please DM us, reach out to us, because this is not the only way to interact. Hopefully we'll be just like having other types of events soon too, but stay safe and happy.